buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving headfirst into something seriously mind-blowing. Elon Musk's warning about the woke mind virus in AI.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a good one.
And it's not just some tech buzzword we're tossing around.
Right.
This concept could actually have a massive impact on how we live in the future.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about just anyone here. This is Elon Musk we're talking about.
Exactly.
The guy behind Tesla's SpaceX Neuralink.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, when a guy like that raises a red flag, it's worth listening.
The whole world kind of stops and pays attention.
Yeah.
And what he's calling the woke mind virus, this potential threat that's kind of lurking inside artificial intelligence, it's definitely got people talking.
Definitely. And the idea is basically this, right, AI as it's being built right now, it's potentially being programmed with a certain set of values.
Right.
That might actually end up limiting its ability to think objectively.
Okay, so let's unpack this woke mind virus a little bit here.
Sure.
What are we even talking about when we say woke in this context?
Yeah.
I mean, on the surface, being aware of social injustices, that seems like a good thing, right?
For sure, for sure. Being aware of inequality and fighting for fairness, that's super important.
Of course.
But what Musk and a lot of other people are saying is that this term woke, it's kind of morphed into something else.
Okay.
It's starting to be associated more and more with this really rigid ideology.
Right.
And that sometimes can actually stifle open discussion and, people having different opinions.
Okay, so how does all this connect to AI?
Right.
I mean, are we talking about robots that are going to start marching in protests?
No, not quite. But think about it this way. AI is already shaping so much of our lives.
Okay.
Like the algorithms that control what you see on social media, the news you read, even the search results you get, it's all AI.
Yeah, that's true.
So the potential danger here is if that AI has been programmed with a bias, leaning towards one specific point of view,
Right.
it could actually start to shape the way we understand the world in a really limited way. It's almost like imagine being stuck in this echo chamber where you only ever hear voices that agree with you.
Oh, that's scary.
Right.
Have you ever felt like the information you see online is being filtered or presented to push a certain agenda?
Yeah, I think that's a question we should all be asking ourselves these days.
Totally.
Like, are we really getting a balanced, objective view of the world?
Right.
Or are we being kind of nudged in a certain direction by algorithms that are programmed with very specific values?
It's like we're handing over control of our information to these AI systems.
You got it.
It's kind of freaky when you think about it.
It is, and that's why what Musk is saying is so important. He's basically like, wake up, people.
Yeah.
If we're not really careful about the biases we could be building into AI, we could end up in a world where information is totally controlled and manipulated in ways we never even thought of.
Okay, so what's Musk's solution here?
Right.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who just sits around and complains.
Oh, absolutely not. He's a doer, and that's where his new company XAI comes in.
Okay.
He said straight up that he's frustrated with where AI development is going with companies like Google and OpenAI. So
Right.
he's taking matters into his own hands.
And from what I've heard, XAI is all about building AI that puts truth and objectivity first.
That's the goal.
Like he wants to build an AI that's basically immune to this whole woke mind virus.
Yeah, he wants to create an AI that searches for truth.
Wow.
Regardless of what the popular ideologies are or societal pressures,
Yeah,
it's a huge vision.
it is.
It remains to be seen whether he can pull it off.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's putting so much time and money into XAI shows you how serious he is about this threat.
He's definitely not messing around. But this whole woke mind virus warning and how Musk is responding to it with XAI, it feels like it's part of a much bigger conversation we need to be having about free speech in our digital world.
For sure. I mean, think about it. Algorithms are already controlling so much of what we see and don't see online.
That's true.
It's a huge question. Who gets to decide what an AI can think or say? Should it be these big tech companies' governments?
Right?
Or should it be a more open process?
I don't know.
It's a big question.
Yeah. So are we really okay with AI becoming this tool for censorship?
Right.
Where certain viewpoints just get silenced or shut down because they don't fit with the values that are programmed into the system?
It's a slippery slope.
Or should AI be exposed to a wider range of perspectives, even ones that might be considered controversial or difficult?
I think that's the key question we're facing.
It is.
As AI becomes more and more a part of our lives,
Yeah,
the stakes are incredibly high.
for sure.
We're talking about the future of information, the future of free speech,
Yeah.
and ultimately how we understand and interact with the world around us.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're standing at this fork in the road when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to let it become this thing that controls what we see and think? Or can we actually build AI that embraces open discussion and lets all these different ideas flourish?
It's a pivotal moment, that's for sure.
It is.
And I think this whole woke mind virus debate is forcing us to take a hard look in the mirror and ask some tough questions about ourselves. You know, like, can we as humans even create AI that's totally free of bias?
That's a really deep question.
It is.
Because at the end of the day, we're all biased creatures, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our experiences, our beliefs, our values,
Yeah.
all that stuff shapes how we see the world.
Exactly. So if we're building AI in our own image, so to speak,
Right.
doesn't it make sense that some of our biases are going to end up in the algorithms?
Yeah, it's like trying to bake a cake without getting any flour on your apron.
Right.
No matter how hard you try a little bit, it's going to end up where it shouldn't be.
So are we doomed to create AI that's basically just reflecting back all our own flaws? Is totally objective AI just a fantasy?
I don't think so, but it means we have to be super careful about the data we use to train these AI systems. If we feed it information that's already skewed in one direction, it's just going to make those biases even worse.
So then what do we do?
Right.
Create some kind of neutral data set that's been scrubbed clean of all human bias.
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Is that even possible?
Some people say it's impossible, that any information we create is going to be shaped by our perspective in some way.
Right.
Others think we can at least try to make data sets more balanced.
Okay.
By making sure we're including lots of different viewpoints,
Okay.
even ones we might not personally agree with.
And isn't that basically what Musk is trying to do with XAI?
It seems like it.
Build an AI that's learned from a wider, more diverse set of data.
Yeah.
So it's less likely to fall into those ideological traps.
Yeah, he keeps talking about wanting XAI to be truth-seeking above all else.
Right.
So maybe he's trying to train AI to look at information and decide if it's accurate, if it's valid, rather than if it fits with a certain ideology.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate for a second here. You know, Musk's critics, they say this whole woke mind virus thing is just a way for him to push his own agenda. Like he's using this fear of bias to build an AI that just reflects his worldview.
It's a fair point. I mean,
think about that.
anytime someone as powerful as Musk chimes in on something as complicated as AI,
Yeah,
we have to think about their motives.
for sure.
Is he really worried about this bias, or is this some kind of strategic move to control where AI goes in a way that benefits him?
Right. I mean, it's hard to know what's really going on in his head.
It is.
But I do think he believes this is a serious problem.
Yeah,
I mean, he's been talking about the dangers of AI for years,
that's true.
way before this whole woke mind virus idea came along.
He's been warning about AI becoming smarter than humans.
Yeah.
And all the risks that come with that for a long time.
So maybe this woke mind virus is a more specific worry for him.
Maybe.
Maybe he's focused on AI being used to like manipulate people's thoughts and beliefs.
That's definitely a scary thought.
And that's what makes this conversation so crucial.
Yeah, right.
It's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the values we bake into it. Like if we're not careful, we could end up creating AI that brings out the worst in us
Exactly, instead of the best.
instead of making us better.
Yeah, we're talking about the future of human thought here.
I know, it's huge.
If AI is going to be so woven into our lives, we need to make sure it's a force for good,
Absolutely.
for progress, for understand, and not for division and manipulation.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
What can we do to make sure AI is developed ethically and responsibly?
Yeah.
Like, do we even have any control over this?
Those are the right questions to be asking. And there are no easy answers.
Right.
But I think the most important thing is just to be aware of this potential for bias in AI.
Okay.
To question the information that's being fed to us by these algorithms.
Yeah.
And to demand more transparency from the companies who are building these powerful technologies.
So we need to be skeptical. We need to think critically about the information we're consuming online.
Especially as the lines between what's created by humans and what's created by AI get blurrier and blurrier.
Exactly.
We need to be more discerning, more aware of the forces that might be shaping what we see and read.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a second and look at what we've talked about today.
Yeah, good idea.
We started this deep dive exploring Elon Musk's warning about the woke mind virus in AI.
Right.
We talked about how AI could be biased, the way algorithms shape what we see online, and what all this means for free speech in this digital age.
Lots to unpack there.
Definitely. And we saw how Musk's concerns led him to start his own AI company, XAI.
Right. With this crazy goal of creating an AI that's all about seeking the truth.
Yeah, one that's less likely to be swayed by any ideology.
Right.
And of course, we have to acknowledge that not everyone agrees with Musk.
Of course.
There are plenty of people who think his whole woke mind virus thing is just a way for him to push his own ideas.
Right. Maybe he just wants to control AI so it reflects his own worldview.
It's definitely a complicated issue with no easy answers.
It really is.
But I think one of the biggest takeaways from all this is that we need a lot more transparency when it comes to building AI.
Totally.
We need to know what data is being used to train these systems.
Absolutely.
We need to understand the values that are built into the algorithms.
For sure.
And most importantly, we need to know who's actually in control of what AI can and can't do.
Yeah, who has the power?
Because if we really want AI to be a force for good,
Right.
we have to make sure it's developed in a way that represents all of us,
Not just a select few.
not just a narrow slice of humanity.
Exactly.
It has to reflect the full spectrum of human thought.
The good, the bad, the ugly. All of it.
And that brings us back to that big question we asked earlier.
The big way.
Who gets to decide what an AI can think or say?
Who gets to be in charge of its voice?
Is it just a bunch of tech companies
Right.
or governments?
Should they be the ones making those calls?
Or should it be a more open process?
Yeah.
One where everyone has a say.
Right? Including you and me.
Ethicists, philosophers, everyday people.
Yeah, bring everyone to the table.
Because this isn't just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the social, the ethical, the political implications of AI.
It's about how we want to shape our society.
It is.
If AI is going to be such a huge part of our lives, then we need to have a serious conversation about how we want to guide its development.
So as AI becomes more and more integrated into our world, what can we do
Yeah, what can we do?
to make sure it reflects a balanced and truthful view of things?
Right. How do we prevent it from becoming a tool for control or manipulation?
Those are the questions we have to grapple with.
Not just the tech industry, but all of us.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive for today.
Yeah, good stuff.
We've covered a lot of ground exploring this really complex and fascinating topic.
It is a fascinating one.
And hopefully we've given you all some food for thought.
Yeah, something to chew on.
Because as we move further into this age of artificial intelligence, we need to be having these conversations now.
We need to be thinking critically
We need to be asking tough questions
and demanding transparency,
so that the future of AI is one that we create together.
one that benefits all of humanity.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive,
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
and we'll see you next time. Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be talking about AI.
Oh,
But specifically, are we accidentally, like baking in our own biases
right.
into these systems that are supposed to be, completely objective?
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? I mean, we're using AI for everything now, from, filtering out spam in our inboxes to recommending movies on Netflix.
Right. And that's what's so fascinating about the work of this guy, Srinidhi Ranganathan.
Oh, yeah, he's incredible.
This guy's a legend in the digital marketing world, and he's been called the human AI.
Yeah, for good reason.
I mean, he really knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And he just put out this incredible research report about AI bias.
It's really eye-opening.
Yeah. I mean, he really makes the case that even with the best intentions, we might be creating AI that just reflects, all of our own human hangups and prejudices and stuff.
It's like looking in a mirror, but the mirror is a supercomputer.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's back up for a second here. For people who haven't been living and breathing AI, for the past few years,
What exactly do we mean by AI biases?
let me put it this way. Imagine you're teaching a kid how to play a game, right? But you only show them one strategy. So they're going to think that's the only way to play.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, AI is kind of similar. It learns from the data that we give it. If that data is skewed, guess what?
The AI is going to be skewed too.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the AI being wrong. It's about being systematically wrong in a way that, reflects our own biases.
You got it. And Srinidhi gives some really crazy examples in his research.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, like some facial recognition systems are way better at identifying certain ethnicities than others.
Oh, wow.
Or hiring algorithms that end up favoring male candidates over female candidates for, jobs that have traditionally been male dominated.
That's not great.
Yeah. And this is where this whole idea of a woke mind virus comes into play.
Yeah, Elon Musk has been talking about this a lot lately.
He has. And, Musk can be a bit provocative with his language
Oh,
sometimes.
for sure. But I think the core idea here is that in trying to make AI, super sensitive to issues of race and gender and stuff, we might be accidentally pushing it in a very specific ideological direction.
So it's like an overcorrection almost. Like we're so worried about AI being biased in one way that we end up creating a whole new set of biases.
Exactly. And Srinidhi does a great job of breaking down how this mind virus, as Musk calls it, could actually spread through these AI systems.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. So tell me more. Tell me more.
Well, the first thing is the data itself, right? AI learns from these massive amounts of information.
Yeah.
But if that information mostly comes from, say, just one political viewpoint,
Right.
then guess what? The AI is going to reflect that.
Yeah, that's like raising a kid on nothing but reality TV.
Yeah.
Their worldview is going to be a little bit warped.
And then you have to think about the people who are actually training these systems.
Right.
They're the ones giving feedback to the AI, helping it learn. But if those trainers all share similar biases,
Oh boy.
then guess what?
The AI is going to pick up on those biases.
Right. It's like a game of telephone where the message just gets more and more distorted along the way.
Okay. So I'm starting to see a pattern here. What else did Srinidhi talk about?
Well, he also brought up algorithmic censorship.
Oh, yeah, like those filters that keep my grandma from seeing certain things on Facebook.
Exactly. Those filters are powered by AI. So who decides what gets flagged as inappropriate or offensive?
Right. That's a good question.
That's where bias can sneak in again.
So even if our goal is to, protect people, the way that we do it could end up, silencing certain voices or perspectives.
It's a tough balance. And that's really what Srinidhi's research gets at.
This is fascinating. So we've got biased data, we've got potentially biased trainers, and we've got algorithms that could be accidentally censoring stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to worry about?
Oh, you bet there is. Srinidhi, he also brings up the influence of, big companies and governments.
Yeah.
They have a huge say in how AI is developed and, what goals it prioritizes.
Right. So
Yeah.
basically, if those folks have an agenda, the AI could end up reflecting that agenda, whether we like it or not.
It's a valid concern. And again, it's not always about, some evil mastermind trying to control our minds.
Right.
Sometimes it's just about unconscious bias, creeping in.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
But is this woke mind virus thing actually showing up in real world AI? Or is this just a theory?
Oh, no. Srinidhi points to some pretty compelling examples.
Okay, lay it on me.
Take ChatGPT, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's talking about ChatGPT.
I know, right? Well, users noticed that it was really hesitant to, generate responses that could be perceived as politically incorrect.
Oh, wow.
Even if those responses were, factually accurate.
So it was like walking on eggshells?
Kind of.
So even a system that's designed to be helpful and informative, can still end up reflecting these biases. That's a little unsettling.
It is. And then there was that whole controversy with Google's AI ethics team.
Oh, yeah. What happened there again?
Well, they fired some researchers who were raising concerns about AI's potential to be manipulative.
Wait, so they got fired for raising ethical concerns?
It definitely raised some eyebrows.
Yeah.
And it kind of feeds into this idea that maybe we're not as open to, diverse viewpoints in AI development as we should be.
Right. And didn't Srinidhi also mention something about Bing AI?
He did. Microsoft's chatbot, apparently it was giving totally different answers to the same political questions, depending on how the questions were phrased.
So it was like trying to figure out the user's political leanings.
Yeah, and then tailor its answers accordingly.
Oh, that's not exactly objective.
Not at all.
Okay, so this isn't just hypothetical AI biases already out there.
It is.
But what can we even do about it? I mean, how do we fix this?
That is the million-dollar question. Should we be striving for absolute neutrality in AI?
I mean, is that even possible?
That's the thing, right? Humans build AI, and humans are inherently biased.
It's like we're trying to create a perfectly level playing field,
Yeah,
but the ground itself is uneven.
a perfect analogy.
So is that it? Are we just doomed to have biased AI forever?
Not necessarily. Srinidhi actually lays out some interesting arguments in favor of, actively correcting for bias.
Oh, interesting. So instead of trying to eliminate bias completely, We should focus on managing it.
Exactly. He talks about having diverse development teams using transparent algorithms and, constantly testing for and mitigating any unintended biases.
So it's more of an ongoing process.
It is.
Than a one-time fix.
Right. And it really requires a commitment to fairness and ethical development.
Okay, this is giving you a lot to think about. We're talking about, shaping the future of intelligence here.
We are.
But if we can't achieve perfect neutrality, how do we ensure fairness and, prevent harm?
That's the heart of it. Srinidhi argues that we need a multi-pronged approach, building AI that prioritizes truth-seeking, promoting transparency so we can see how these systems are making decisions, and ensuring that there's ideological balance both in the data and the teams that are developing these systems.
Those all sound like great ideas in theory, but how do we actually put that into practice?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. It requires collaboration between everyone involved.
To not just the AI developers.
Not just them.
Yeah.
We need ethicists, policymakers, and even us, the everyday users.
Wait, so you're saying that we have a role to play in this too?
Absolutely. We need to be informed consumers of AI. Understand that it's not some magical, unbiased oracle.
Right.
We need to question the information that it gives us, consider multiple perspectives, and, not be afraid to call out bias when we see it.
So it's kind of like with any other media we consume. We need to be critical thinkers.
Exactly. And remember, AI is a tool. It can be used for good or for bad. It all depends on the choices that we make.
Man, this deep dive has been a wild ride.
Yeah.
I feel like I went from AI is cool to AI is potentially terrifying. And back again.
It is a complex topic, but that's what makes it so fascinating. And, Srinidhi Ranganathan deserves a ton of credit for really bringing these issues to light.
Yeah, he really does.
I mean, his research is so clear and insightful.
He really is the human AI.
I know, right?
His work is a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the future of AI. All right, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
But there's even more to this story. So, we've been talking about all these potential problems with AI bias. But one thing that really struck me in Srinidhi's research is that this isn't just like a tech issue, right?
Right.
This is a global issue.
It is. It really is. I mean, different countries are approaching AI development in completely different ways.
Yeah. It's like the Wild West out there.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to build the next big AI, but nobody knows what the rules are.
Exactly. Some countries are taking a very hands-off approach. Just letting companies do their thing with very little regulation.
Right.
But other countries are putting these really strict ethical guidelines in place.
Yeah, they're trying to, get ahead of the problem.
Exactly.
And I can see both sides of the argument. I mean, on the one hand, you want to encourage innovation, right?
Of course.
But on the other hand, you don't want to end up with some super powerful AI that, reflects all the worst aspects of humanity.
It's a tough balancing act for sure. And then you have to think about the geopolitical implications too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, could AI become a tool for propaganda or even manipulation, in the hands of certain governments?
Okay, now that's a scary thought. I mean, we're already seeing how social media can be used to spread misinformation and, sow division and all that stuff.
Right.
Imagine what a government could do with a really sophisticated AI.
And it's not just about spreading false information, right? Imagine an AI that can tailor its message to each individual, exploiting their specific biases and fears.
Yeah, let's talk about
fun.
a recipe for chaos.
This is making me want to unplug from the internet and then go live in a cabin in the woods. But seriously, this whole conversation has been so eye-opening. So what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is just to stay informed and stay engaged. AI is here to stay. It's going to keep evolving at this incredible pace.
Right.
We can't just bury our heads in the sand and hope for the best.
So we need to be aware of the potential risks, but also the potential benefits.
Absolutely. I mean, AI can do amazing things. It can help us solve really complex problems. It can create these incredible new forms of art and entertainment and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But we need to be really mindful of how it's developed and how it's used and make sure that it aligns with our values as a society.
And that's where Srinidhi's work is so valuable. He's not just pointing out the problems, he's actually offering solutions.
He is.
And encouraging us to think critically about the future that we want to create. Exactly. He's showing us that we're not just passive bystanders in this AI revolution.
Yeah.
We have a voice and we need to use it.
Well said. And a huge thank you to Srinidhi Ranganathan for his incredible research. Seriously, folks, if you haven't already, check out his work. It's mind-blowing.
Absolutely. He's really paving the way for a more ethical and responsible approach to AI. And that's something we should all be excited about.
This has been an amazing deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to, the AI news from now on.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners feel the same way. Remember, the future of AI is in our hands. Let's make it a good one.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep those brains buzzing. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, take care. All right, so today we're diving into something pretty wild.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the idea of a woke mind virus in AI?
Whoa.
Yeah. It sounds like, straight out of science fiction.
Yeah, it does sound pretty dramatic.
But it's this concept that AI is being programmed with a progressive bias.
Right.
And that it could be like shaping the information we get.
Oh, wow.
Even, potentially limiting free speech.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Huge implications, right? Today, we're going to be looking at part 3 of an article.
Okay.
And this article is called AI's Greatest Threat. Elon Musk sounds the alarm on the woke mind viruses.
Interesting.
And this is by, I got to say, digital marketing legend Srinidhi Ranganathan.
Oh, wow.
Really smart guy. His insights are always just incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to dig into this one.
Yeah, me too.
It's a super timely piece, especially
Yeah.
since we have the emergence of Musk's company, XAI.
Right.
It's like he's directly challenging what's out there.
Yeah.
Going up against these big companies like OpenAI and Google.
Mm-hmm.
And he's proposing something totally different.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty radical departure from what we've seen so far.
So can you kind of break down for us how XAI's philosophy is different from what's already happening?
Yeah, so the article does a really good job of laying this out.
Yeah.
XAI is built on 3 core principles:
Okay.
minimizing that ideological bias, maximizing free speech,
Okay.
and then, making sure their models are totally transparent. So when you compare that to OpenAI and Google, it's like night and day.
It's like 2 different paths for AI.
Right, exactly.
One where it aligns with specific values.
Yeah.
And another where it's like neutral and open.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So the article even talks about how XAI wants users to be able to customize those AI responses.
Yeah, based on their values.
Hold on. So imagine an AI tailored to you,
Yeah.
your worldview, your beliefs.
It's wild.
So that's a big deal.
It's definitely a bold concept,
Yeah.
but it brings up a really fundamental challenge.
Yeah.
How do you define truth for an AI? Especially when it comes to stuff like politics and ethics.
Right.
You can program it with facts,
Yeah.
but how do you teach it about human values and beliefs?
Yeah. Where there's so much gray area.
Exactly. It's a question philosophers have been trying to figure out forever.
I know. It's so complex.
And the article gives a really good example, climate change.
Okay.
Should an AI just show the scientific consensus, or should it also include those dissenting opinions, even if they're not widely accepted?
Wow. That's
Yeah.
such a good example.
Right.
Because it shows how hard it is to program truth.
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what's a legitimate viewpoint?
Right, especially when there's so much disagreement.
And then it gets even more complex.
It does.
When you bring in Musk's emphasis on, minimal censorship,
Yeah.
he wants an AI with free-flowing information.
Right.
Even if it's potentially harmful or offensive.
Exactly. It's a noble goal.
Yeah.
But it raises so many questions.
You know that.
How do you prevent, an AI that prioritizes free speech from becoming a platform for hate speech
Right.
or dangerous conspiracy theories?
Total freedom without any boundaries can be pretty scary.
Yeah.
How do you find that balance between open expression
Yeah.
and protecting people?
Right. That's a tough one.
It's a dilemma for sure.
The article talks about a few possible solutions.
Okay.
One idea is AI systems that have user adjustable filters.
So it's like users have the power to customize what they see.
Yeah.
Kind of like setting preferences on social media.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
It gives people control over their information.
Doesn't that kind of make you think about echo chambers?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Could this type of filtering just make people's biases even worse?
It could, and that's why the design of these filters is so important.
Yeah,
Maybe they could encourage users to broaden their horizons a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah, suggesting content that challenges their views.
So instead of just filtering everything out that you disagree with,
Right.
it helps you understand different viewpoints.
Exactly.
That's all.
Another solution the article talks about is AI flagging harmful content.
Guy.
but not censoring it.
So like a warning label.
Yeah, something like that.
Letting users know that what they're about to see might be offensive.
Exactly. So people can make informed decisions
Makes sense.
without restricting information completely.
Okay, so let's talk about something that's, kind of a big deal here.
Okay.
XAI is going up against some giants.
Huge companies.
OpenAI, Google, Microsoft.
With massive resources.
And they have such a head start.
It's true. XAI is definitely the underdog here.
For sure.
But the article mentions public perception as a possible advantage.
Interesting.
If people start demanding transparency in AI,
Yeah.
that could really push those bigger companies to change.
Like the power of the people. Yeah. And I think with all the concern about AI bias, we're going to see that pressure increase.
I think so too. People are becoming more aware
Yeah.
of how AI is shaping their lives.
Right.
And they're starting to ask some tough questions.
So let's bring it back to our listeners for a second.
Okay.
Why should they care about this whole debate?
Because it's about the future of information.
Wow.
We already see how algorithms can create those filter bubbles online,
Right.
reinforcing our beliefs and making it harder to see other perspectives.
And you're saying AI could make that even worse.
It could.
Imagine
Yeah.
AI systems that curate our news feeds, recommend products,
Right.
even provide education.
All with built-in biases.
That's a little scary.
It is something to be mindful of.
Yeah.
And that's why critical thinking is so important now.
We can't just accept whatever AI tells us.
Right. We have to question it.
Question its sources, its methods.
Its biases.
Don't just take the AI's word for it.
Yeah, exactly. Think for yourself.
Right.
AI is a tool.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
So true.
It all comes down to the people who are controlling it.
Okay, we've talked about the risks.
Yeah.
But let's not forget the potential for good.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some ways unbiased AI could really benefit us? So we've covered a lot of ground here, talking about the risks of AI bias, the need for transparency.
Yeah.
It feels like we're on the edge of this, like, technological revolution, but it also feels a little bit like walking a tightrope,
Yeah, definitely.
balancing this amazing potential with the risks.
Oh, it's a tricky balance.
And Srinidhi Ranganathan, in this final part of his article,
Yeah.
really brings up some thought-provoking stuff about what's next.
It is pretty mind-blowing.
Like, he talks about this scenario
Okay.
where AI gets so advanced that it can perfectly mimic human conversation.
Wow.
Like, would we even be able to tell the difference?
I mean, that's the question, isn't it?
If an AI sounds and acts just like a human,
Yeah.
how do we know it's not manipulating us? Right. It's a little unsettling.
Pushing an agenda or reinforcing our biases without us even realizing it.
That's exactly what the article digs into.
Yeah.
And it doesn't pretend to have all the answers,
Right.
but it really stresses that this blurring of lines makes it even more important for us to be informed.
Think critically.
Yeah,
Demand transparency from these companies.
absolutely.
It's almost like we need like a whole new set of digital literacy skills.
I think so.
Not just for navigating online,
Yeah.
but for figuring out what's real and what's being manipulated.
Because AI is getting more and more sophisticated.
Yeah.
It's not just about the AI itself being biased, though.
Right.
It's also about the humans who are creating it.
The data they use, the algorithms,
Yeah.
all of that, even their own unconscious biases can shape how an AI thinks.
It's true.
So it's not enough to just focus on building unbiased AI.
No, it's bigger than that.
We have to address the root causes of bias in our society.
And in the tech industry itself.
Diversity in tech teams, ethical frameworks for development, accountability, oversight.
Oh, crucial.
This has been an incredible conversation.
It really has.
And it's clear this AI conversation is just getting started.
Oh, yeah, we're just scratching the surface.
We've talked about the risks, the potential for bias, the need for transparency, critical thinking.
It's a lot to think about.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
any key takeaways for our listeners who want to dive deeper into this?
Stay curious, stay informed,
Yeah.
read articles like the one we talked about today, follow the work of experts in the field.
Engage in those conversations.
Yeah, with friends, family, colleagues.
Don't be afraid to ask those tough questions.
Absolutely.
Demand transparency from the companies creating AI.
Hold them accountable.
The future of AI isn't set in stone.
It's something we're all shaping together.
That's a powerful thought.
It is.
And being informed, engaged, critically aware, we can help ensure AI benefits everyone. This has been an amazing exploration.
I agree.
Big thanks to Srinidhi Ranganathan.
Yeah, what an insightful article.
Sparked a lot of important questions.
It did.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into AI.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Be sure to check out the show notes for links to that full article and other resources.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep those minds sharp. All right, let's dive in. We're tackling AI bias today, something I know a lot of you are interested in.
Definitely a hot topic right now.
And we're going deep with this article you all sent in.
AI's greatest threat. Elon Musk sounds the alarm on the woke mind viruses.
Catchy, right?
Absolutely. Dated February 27th, 2025, so it's fresh. And look, it's got Elon Musk, the EU AI Act, China's whole approach.
A lot to unpack there.
It's wild how differently countries are handling this whole AI bias thing, you know?
Yeah, it's like everyone's playing their own game on the AI chessboard. No easy answers here.
And that's what we're here for, right? To break it all down.
Each country's approach is so tied to their politics, their culture, their tech goals. It's fascinating.
So where do we even start? I guess with the man himself, Elon Musk. This article kicks off with him basically yelling fire about this woke mind virus in AI.
Oh, he doesn't hold back, does he? Musk is really concerned about censorship, you know? He's saying all these efforts to filter out hate speech, misinformation.
Well, that sounds good on the surface. Right, but he's worried it'll end up silencing people who don't agree with the mainstream. Like, who gets to decide what's hate or what's misinformation?
So he's saying AI could become a tool for thought control, basically. That's heavy stuff.
It's a fear a lot of people share, yeah. Musk is pushing for more transparency in AI, open source stuff, so it's not just a few companies or governments controlling everything.
Makes sense. If we don't know how the algorithms work, who's feeding them what? It's like, who's deciding what we even see online?
That's exactly the issue. And that brings us to how different countries are tackling AI regulation. You've got the US, for example. They're all about fairness with their AI Bill of Rights. Unbiased algorithms, they say.
Sounds good in theory, but
how do you even define fairness, right? What's fair to me might be censorship to you.
Exactly. So how are they even approaching that in the US?
Well, the AI Bill of Rights is still pretty new. Lots of debate on how to make it work in practice. Some experts are saying any rules have to be super carefully written so they don't stifle innovation or, step on free speech rights.
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
Almost impossible to make everyone happy, especially in the US, so politically divided.
Totally. Now, compare that to the EU, which has taken a totally different route with EU AI Act. They're all about laying down the law. Very specific rules for AI development, no messing around. Their big focus. Mitigating bias, protecting user privacy.
So it's like follow the rules or face the consequences.
Pretty much. Think of it this way. AI used for hiring, loans, legal stuff. It can't discriminate based on gender, race, anything like that. The EU is really serious about this.
Sounds pretty strict.
Yeah.
I mean, good intentions, but
Yeah.
doesn't that risk holding back progress? Less innovation.
That's what some critics are saying, yeah.
Yeah.
They argue that the EU might fall behind in the AI race,
Yeah.
that it might squash creativity.
That was a trade-off, isn't it? You tighten the reins on one side and something else pops up on the other. But it is interesting seeing how these different approaches are playing out, that's for sure.
It is. And speaking of different approaches, we have to talk about China. Now they're doing things their own way. Their AI development is totally linked to their political system,
So while the US and EU are wrestling with biases and censorship, China is using AI to, control the narrative.
Basically, they're investing tons in AI research, but with a clear goal: strengthen their security, their economy, and keep society stable. And part of that is using AI to filter what people see, control online discussions.
Wow. Talk about different values. The US and EU are all about democracy, individual rights. China's using AI to strengthen their existing power structure.
It's a stark contrast, and it highlights why this conversation is so important, The way AI develops is tied to the values of the country developing it.
It's a reflection of who we are, what we prioritize. AI is like a mirror to society.
And before we go any further, we can't forget about another big player, India. They're a force to be reckoned with in AI, and their approach is unique.
On India, let's hear it. How are they dealing with this whole AI thing?
They're walking this tightrope, trying to balance their insane tech growth with their culture, their traditions, investing in AI to tackle poverty, healthcare, but super aware of the impact on their cultural identity.
So they want AI that helps the people, but doesn't erase who they are. That's a tough balance.
Super tough. They've always been good at adapting new tech while keeping their traditions. Now they're applying that to AI, making sure it benefits all Indians, respecting their languages, their backgrounds, everything.
Makes sense. India is incredibly diverse. A one-size-fits-all AI solution just wouldn't work.
Exactly. That's why we're seeing this rise of culturally aware AI. AI that gets local customs, languages, social norms, AI that adapts instead of forcing one worldview on everyone.
That's cool. Like, AI needs to be multilingual, culturally speaking, to be effective worldwide.
You got it. It's about respecting the diversity of human experience, not just eliminating bias as one group defines it.
That's profound and makes this whole discussion so much bigger than just lines of code, right?
Absolutely. We're talking about the future of humanity. How are we going to live with this incredibly powerful tech? And every country brings something different to the table.
Okay, my mind is already blown, and we're just getting started. US, EU, China, India, so many approaches to AI bias. What's clear is there's no single right answer. But this conversation, it's only going to get more important as AI keeps growing.
Thinking about all these different approaches to AI regulations, it feels like we're just scratching the surface here.
It does feel that way. We've talked a lot about governments and regulations and everything, but like, what does all this mean for like the average person,
Right. Like, how is this going to affect our daily lives, AI bias, and all that?
Exactly, because it's not some far off thing anymore.
Yeah.
Right? AI is already everywhere.
It really is embedded in everything we use pretty much every day, from navigating traffic to, finding a date online or buying groceries.
And every time we're doing that, we're interacting with algorithms, aren't we? Algorithms that have been programmed by humans with their own biases.
Exactly. And those biases, they can lead to some real consequences. Think about hiring, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Like, what if a company uses some fancy AI system to sort through job applicants?
Right. And if that system was trained on data that already has gender or racial bias baked in,
Then it's going to keep those biases going in the hiring process.
yep, it's a vicious cycle. Existing biases get built into the algorithms, and then those algorithms just make those biases even worse in the real world. It's like we're automating discrimination.
That's a scary thought. It's like we're giving these algorithms so much power over these big decisions, loans, criminal justice, healthcare.
And in each of those areas, AI bias can have huge consequences for people's lives. That's why this conversation about AI bias is so crucial.
Absolutely. We can't just blindly trust these systems, right?
Yeah.
We need transparency from the companies that are building and using them.
Transparency is key. We need to know how these algorithms work, what data they were trained on, what steps are being taken to address bias.
Otherwise, it's like we're in the dark, just hoping these black boxes will make the right decisions, even though they can have a huge impact on our lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We have to remember AI is just a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us as a society to ensure that AI is used responsibly and ethically.
It all comes back to human values, right? The intentions behind the technology itself.
Yes, and we need to have those difficult conversations about ethics and responsibility now.
We're at such a pivotal moment with AI. The choices we make today will have massive consequences in the future.
No doubt. If we aren't careful, AI could make existing inequalities worse and even create new ones. But if we approach AI development with awareness and a commitment to fairness, then it could actually become a force for good.
That's a much more optimistic outlook. And I think it's important to remember that AI isn't going anywhere.
It's here to stay. So let's figure out how to make it work for us, not against us.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinating that this is happening on a global scale, right? We've been talking about the US, the EU, China, and India, but AI doesn't care about borders, does it?
Not at all. And that's why it's crucial to have international collaboration on these issues. We need to learn from each other, share best practices, work together to develop guidelines for ethical AI development.
It's like we need some kind of global AI Bill of Rights, something that establishes some universal principles for everyone.
That's an interesting idea for sure. This conversation needs to happen on a global level, not just within individual countries, because ultimately the future of AI will impact every single one of us, no matter where we live.
And it's not just about governments and big corporations either. We as individuals have a role to play too.
Exactly, as consumers, we need to be aware of potential bias in the products and services we use. We need to demand transparency from the companies we do business with.
We should support organizations fighting for ethical AI development and speak out against practices we see as harmful.
I completely agree. This isn't just a tech issue. It's a societal one, and we all need to be part of the conversation.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential risks and downsides of AI bias, but let's shift gears for a bit and talk about the potential benefits, because there are a lot of people who are excited about how AI can make the world a better place.
There's definitely a lot of potential there. AI could revolutionize things like healthcare, education, transportation, solve some of our biggest problems, and create a more equitable society.
Give me some examples. Like, how could AI be used for good?
Well, in healthcare, we're already seeing AI being used to diagnose diseases more accurately and develop new treatments. It's also improving patient care and making healthcare more accessible and affordable.
So AI could actually help us live longer and healthier lives.
It definitely has the potential to. And in education, AI can personalize learning experiences, making it more engaging and effective for all students. It can also identify students who need extra help and provide them with the support they need to succeed.
Imagine a world where every student gets a personalized education tailored to their specific needs and learning style. That's pretty amazing.
It would be a game changer. And in the realm of transportation, we have self-driving cars, which could completely change how we get around, make our roads safer and more efficient.
Self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but now it's becoming reality. And, AI is already making our lives better in so many ways. Our smartphones are smarter. Search engines are more accurate. Online shopping is more personalized. But like you said before, there are risks as well as rewards with any powerful technology.
We need to find that balance. Harness the power of AI for good while minimizing the risks. And that's why this conversation is so important. We need to keep talking about AI, bias, ethics, and responsibility, demand transparency, and actively shape the future of AI. Because in the end, the future of AI is in our hands.
It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it, this whole AI thing? We're right on the edge of this huge shift, and we get to help shape it. It's exciting, but also like, whoa, big responsibility.
I know what you mean. It really feels like we're at this crossroads, One path, AI helps us be better, more creative, more caring, better problem solvers. But the other path, AI used to control people, to make inequality worse. That's a scary thought.
And it all comes down to the choices we're making right now, doesn't it? It's not like it's all set in stone. We have to be aware, engaged, actually do something to shape this tech.
Exactly. We can't just sit back and be passive. We have to ask the tough questions, demand transparency, hold the people creating AI accountable.
Okay, so say you're just a regular person, not some tech genius or politician. What can they even do to make sure AI is a force for good?
Well, first thing, learn. Educate yourself. How does AI work? What are the good things it can do, the bad? There are so many resources out there, articles, podcasts, even documentaries. It's all about understanding the basics.
Right, like knowledge is power. The more you get it, the better choices you can make about using AI, interacting with it.
Exactly. And once you've got those basics down, then you can start asking critical questions about the AI stuff you're already using. Like say you're on social media, right? Think about the algorithms. Are they showing you different viewpoints or just feeding you what they think you want to see?
That's so true. It's easy to just scroll and scroll, but we got to remember there's this whole system behind it, influencing what we see, what we think even.
For sure. Be aware of that influence. Dig deeper. Question what you're seeing. Look for different perspectives.
Be a digital detective.
Yeah.
We need to be way more critical, especially with how much AI is curating what we see online.
Love that analogy. And another thing you can do is support organizations fighting the good fight, Lots of groups out there pushing for ethical AI, for transparency and fairness.
So support companies that are doing it right and use your voice too. If you see AI being used in a way that's harmful, speak up. Talk to your representatives, post on social media, discuss it with friends and family.
The more people involved in this conversation, the better. And remember, this goes way beyond just the tech itself. It's about the world we want, the kind of humans we are, what we value.
This whole deep dive has been incredible. We've covered so much. Global regulations, the risks, the amazing potential, what we can do to shape it all.
And this is just the beginning. There's still so much to explore, to learn, to discuss. But hopefully this got you thinking, got you fired up to be part of this whole AI revolution.
I know I am. So to everyone listening, keep asking those tough questions, keep pushing for transparency, and keep believing that we can make AI a force for good in the world. Until next time, keep diving deep. Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You know we like to go deep, and today is no exception.
That's right.
Buckle up, because we're tackling a question that's got the whole tech world buzzing right now.
Oh yeah, and what's that?
Can AI ever, and I mean EV air, be truly neutral?
Interesting.
We're diving headfirst into an article by, get this, digital marketing legend, Srinidhi Ranganathan.
Okay, I'm intrigued already.
The article is called AI's Greatest Threat, Elon Musk sounds the alarm on the woke mind viruses.
I've heard of that one.
We're focusing on part 5 for this deep dive, so get ready, because Ranganathan really digs deep into how AI could be swayed by bias.
Well, that's a big concern.
Totally. And he doesn't hold back.
I bet. So, where do we start with all this?
The core issue is that AI, learns from the data we feed it. But all that data, it's made by humans. Well, we're kind of known for our biases, aren't we?
Yeah, that's a tough one. How do we create AI that's not just spitting back our own imperfections,
Exactly. And Ranganathan makes a really great point about this. Like, how do we even define what truth is for AI?
Right.
Different cultures, different beliefs. Everyone's got their own idea of truth. So whose version ends up being the one that gets programmed in? Whose truth gets prioritized?
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
And this is where things get even more wild. Think about it. An AI trained on, say, articles and books that all lean towards one political side.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
It's like creating an AI echo chamber.
Instead of bridging those divides, it just makes them wider.
Exactly. Which brings us to the man of the hour, Elon Musk.
Ah, yes.
He's got some strong feelings on this whole AI bias thing.
Does he ever?
His company, XAI, is all about building what he calls truth-seeking AI.
He's worried about the woke mind virus, he calls it, thinks it's infecting AI development.
And he's not afraid to say it. But you got to wonder, can XAI really pull this off? They're up against some seriously huge players.
Google, Microsoft, those guys aren't messing around. They've got resources for days.
So, yeah, it makes you think. Even if they did manage to get rid of one kind of bias, wouldn't they just end up accidentally putting in a different one?
It's like, can we even make an AI that's truly free from human influence?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Maybe the billion-dollar question at this point.
Ranganathan lays out 3 possible futures for AI. He calls them the controlled future, where AI is tightly regulated.
Like censored.
Pretty much. Then there's the free AI future.
I think that's...
Total free for all.
Yeah.
And then there's the hybrid future.
The middle ground.
Yeah, the one where we try to balance truth and responsibility.
All
So
right.
which future are you rooting for?
Those 3 futures Ranganathan talks about. Yeah, it really gets you thinking.
Definitely. It's like he's holding up a mirror to where AI could be headed.
And we get to choose the path.
Exactly. So let's break them down, starting with the, the controlled AI future.
The one where the government's got its hands all over AI, right?
Right. Basically, they're deciding what AI can and can't say, what flies, what doesn't.
So it's kind of like a giant censorship machine.
Well, that's one way to look at it. It's like AI becomes this tool for pushing specific agendas. Whatever the powers that be decide is the right narrative.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too good. What about the opposite end of the spectrum? That free AI future?
Oh man, that one's a wild ride. No rules, no regulations, just pure, unadulterated AI freedom.
So anyone could just create an AI and program it however they want.
Pretty much. It's like the Wild West, but with algorithms instead of gunslingers.
And the risks there, they're huge, right? I mean, we're talking potential for mass misinformation,
Yeah.
manipulating people on a whole new level.
It's almost too scary to think about. Like giving a loaded weapon to a toddler, as they say.
Yikes. Okay, so what's the alternative, that hybrid future Ranganathan talks about?
Yeah, that's the one where we try to strike a balance. Keep AI grounded in facts, but with some room for personal choice. Like you can tweak your AI's settings to fit your values.
So it's like having your own personal AI assistant, but with guardrails.
Exactly. It wouldn't be able to just spout out lies. Transparency would be key. You'd know exactly how your AI was trained, what data it used.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. But even then, wouldn't people still disagree about what truth even is?
Of course. I mean, everyone's got their own background, their own experiences that shape their views. I don't think we'll ever get total agreement on what's true.
True, but maybe that's not the point. Maybe it's more about striving for that balance. Like you said, keeping AI grounded in facts, but also acknowledging that different perspectives exist.
And that's what makes Ranganathan's work so good. He lays it all out there.
Yeah.
The different options, the trade-offs. It's like he's given us this roadmap for the future of AI. And honestly, it's a testament to his writing that he can break down these complex ideas in such an engaging way. He doesn't shy away from the hard questions.
I totally agree. He makes you think about AI not just as this technology, but as something that's deeply connected to us, to humanity. It's a reflection of who we are, and the choices we make will ultimately shape its future.
Absolutely. So where do we go from here? We've talked about the potential downsides of AI bias, but Ranganathan also talks about the potential for good. What are some of the ways AI could actually be used to make a positive impact?
Well, he's actually quite optimistic about that. Ranganathan believes that AI could be used to solve some of the world's most pressing problems, like imagine AI helping us fight climate change or finding new ways to alleviate poverty.
It's incredible to think about. And what about in education? Like personalized learning experiences tailored to each student's needs.
Exactly. Or AI helping doctors make better diagnoses, leading to breakthroughs in healthcare.
The possibilities are endless, really. If we can harness this technology responsibly, that is.
Right. That's the big if, isn't it? Can we really trust AI to be a force for good?
That's the million-dollar question. And to his credit, Ranganathan doesn't shy away from it. He really challenges us to think about the long-term consequences of the choices we're making right now.
What I appreciate about his writing is that he doesn't just lay out the problems. He offers solutions, ways to get involved, things we can all do to help steer AI in the right direction.
Like educating ourselves, supporting organizations that are working on ethical AI guidelines.
And most importantly, starting these conversations, talking about AI, debating the issues, and advocating for a future where AI is used to benefit all of humanity.
Ranganathan's work is a call to action. He's urging us to demand transparency, hold developers accountable, and make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that reflects our shared values.
He's truly set a high bar with this article. It's insightful, it's thought-provoking, and it's a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the future of AI and its impact on our world.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential for AI to be biased, right? But Ranganathan takes it a step further in this last part. He asks this big, scary question. Like, what if AI doesn't just reflect our biases, but it actually amplifies them?
Whoa, amplifies them. That's a whole other level, isn't it? Like instead of just mimicking our flaws, it's like it's making them worse.
Exactly. And it's kind of freaky how he explains how that could happen. So AI algorithms, right, they're designed to find patterns and then optimize for a certain outcome.
Okay, yeah, that's how they learn.
But what if those patterns, like from the very beginning, are based on biased data?
Oh, I see. So the AI is just getting better and better at being biased.
Right? It's like a runaway train. And the more it learns, the faster and more powerful it gets.
And that's what makes this bias issue so important. It's not just about like a few little slip-ups here and there. It's about the potential for AI to completely reshape our world, but based on bad information.
So knowing that, how do we even begin to fight this? It's a huge problem.
Well, Ranganathan, and this is what I love about his work, he doesn't just leave us hanging. He gives us a way forward. It starts with awareness. We have to understand how bias works, how it sneaks into these AI systems, what the consequences could be down the road.
So knowledge is power, basically. The more we know about this, the better chance we have.
Exactly. But knowing isn't enough. What can we actually do?
That's the big question. Ranganathan says we need to be asking the tough questions, pushing for transparency from these developers, and holding them accountable for the systems they're creating.
Got it. So being proactive, not just sitting back and waiting for things to get fixed on their own.
Yeah. We can't expect AI to magically become unbiased. We have to be involved in shaping its development from the ground up. Ranganathan makes that really clear.
He's basically saying, hey, this is on all of us. It's about pushing for ethical guidelines, making sure there are diverse voices involved in creating these AI systems, and ensuring AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
It's a total mindset shift. It's not just about tweaking algorithms. It's about changing how we approach KI as a society.
Right, like baking ethics into every single step of the process. How we collect data, how we design algorithms, how we deploy AI and monitor it. Ranganathan is painting a picture of a future where AI is more balanced, more representative, more aligned with our values.
Okay, so let's say we get there. We create these responsible AI systems. What does that world look like? What does Ranganathan see happening?
Honestly, his vision is really hopeful. He sees AI as a bridge builder, something that can help us understand each other better and solve those tough problems we've been struggling with. Think about it, AI personalized for each student.
So everyone gets the best education possible.
Yeah. Or AI that helps us tackle climate change head on. Even AI that helps us break down cultural barriers, get rid of stereotypes, and build empathy.
Those are some seriously awesome examples. And Ranganathan doesn't just throw those out there. He actually gives us practical steps to make them happen.
This deep dive has been incredible. Ranganathan's insights on AI bias are not only thought-provoking, but they really give you hope. He lays out the challenges, but also shows us that a better future with AI is possible.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This article is a must-read for anyone who cares about the future, period.
Totally agree.
And to everyone listening, we encourage you to check out Ranganathan's work. Dive into this topic, and remember, the future of AI is not set in stone. We're shaping it right now with every choice we make. So ask yourself, what role do you want to play?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and let's create that better future with AI together.